Alright, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video and I'll go over the correct answers. So for the factoring, we're going to do remove, replace, reduce. So we'll have x squared plus 12x plus 36. And then we're going to replace the 9 and factor at the same time. And we'll have plus 6 and plus 6. And then these both divide by 3. So we'll have 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. Which you can also write as 3x plus 2 squared. Okay, for the math knowledge question, they tell us that AW and BY are perpendicular, shown by that right angle, and they bisect each other. So that means this side and this side are congruent, and that side and that side are congruent. And then they tell us that WYX is 58 degrees, and we want to know what is the measure of this angle here. Well, if this angle is a right angle, that means this one is a right angle, and then 90 minus 58 is 32. So that means that this angle over here has to be 32 degrees. And then these are congruent triangles by side, angle, side, or leg, right triangle congruence. And if this angle, which is opposite this side, is 32, then this angle that's opposite the same congruent side has to be 32 degrees as well. So that would be your answer for your math knowledge question. We're looking at lesson 27 today. Looking at related angles and then signs of trig functions. So hopefully you'll understand related angles and the signs of trig functions after this lesson. The acute angle that is between the vector and the x-axis is called the related angle. The related angle is always a positive angle, and it's always going to be the acute angle between your vector and x-axis. You're never going to go over to your y-axis for your related angles. You always go to the x-axis. So let's look at these. This is 135. We're going to go between the vector and the x-axis. So that's going to be right here. And 180 would be this whole line. So if we take out the 135, this other part is going to be 45. So 45 degrees is related to 135. They're called related angles. Over here, this is a 35 degree angle. They already did it for you. So 35 degrees is related to both 215 and negative 145. So I could have, on this first one, gone backwards, and I could have gone this way, and that would have been negative 225. And so 45 degrees is related to negative 225 as well as 135. And then on this last one, it tells us this is 290, and so the remaining part here is the related angle, which is negative 70 degrees, but it's always a positive angle that you use. So 70 degrees is related to 290. Okay, so related angles are going to come into play whenever we are beyond just the first quadrant. So we're going to start with our first quadrant to get the sine values. So the sine of this angle is 3/5. The cosine of this angle would be 4/5. And the tangent of this triangle would be 3/4. All of these are positive. Okay? We're looking for the signs here. So all of these are positive right now. In the second quadrant, we're going to the point negative 4,3. That's how we get into the second quadrant. Our x value has to be negative, and then our y value is positive. Okay, so the sine would be 3/5. The cosine is going to be negative 4/5. And the tangent is going to be 3/-4. So negative 3/4. So only sine is positive. Okay, now we're going to look at the third and fourth quadrants. So in the third quadrant, to get to the third quadrant, we're going to have to go left and down. So -4 and -3. So the sine is negative 3 over 5. The cosine would be negative 4 over 5. And then the tangent would be negative 3 over 4, which is actually a positive 3 over 4. So tangent is positive in the third quadrant. And then for this fourth quadrant, we would go to the right and down. So sine would be negative 3 over 5, cosine would be positive 4 over 5, and tangent would be negative 3 over 4. So here, only cosine is positive. Okay? So looking at all of 4 of those together, there's a mnemonic. All students take calculus. All of them were positive in the first quadrant. Only sine was positive in the second quadrant. Only tangent was positive in the third quadrant. And only cosine was positive in the fourth quadrant. So all students take calculus. That's where that mnemonic comes from. I'm going to refer to that a lot. You need to learn what the all students take calculus means. All right, so let's look here. We want to evaluate 4 cosine of 135. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is graph it. So you're going to draw your quadrant, and we're going to go to 135. So we start at the positive x and go around until we've gone 135 degrees. And then the related angle that's left is going to be this angle here, which is 45 degrees. And this is a 1, 1, and square root of 2 triangle. And the cosine here is 1 over square root of 2, or just square root of 2 over 2, if you rationalize it. But cosine, is it positive or negative in this quadrant? Well, from all students take calculus, only sine is positive. So the cosine is negative. So the cosine of 135 is equal to negative square root of 2 over 2. So we have 4 times negative square root of 2 over 2. And if you multiply those, you get negative 2 square roots of 2. So that would be your answer. Okay, we're going to look at another example. Again, the first thing you want to do is graph to find this cosine of 150. So we're going to go 150 degrees. And then the remaining related angle part is going to be 30 degrees. And then we're going to have square root of 3, 1, and 2. And the cosine is square root of 3 over 2. So the cosine of 150, is it going to be a positive or a negative? If we're in the second quadrant, cosine is negative. So we actually have 2, or negative 2 times negative square root of 3 over 2. And so if you multiply that, you get a positive square root of 3. Okay, so that's how those work. We're going to try one more. I want y'all to try this one by yourself. So pause the video, and then I'll go over it after y'all have attempted it. So again, the first thing you want to do is graph it. So 300 degrees, that's 90, 180, 270, and then a little bit more. So our related angle, if this is 300, this angle here is going to be 60 degrees. And then we're going to have 1, square root of 3, and 2. The cosine of this 60-degree angle is 1 over 2. So the cosine of 300, is it a positive 1 over 2 or a negative 1 over 2? Well, cosine in the fourth quadrant is positive. So cosine of 300 is going to be a positive 1/2. So now we have 5 over 3 times 1/2, which equals 5 over 6. And so that would be your answer for this one. So that's how you deal with these. Basically have 2 steps. Draw it, and based on the drawing, you either have a positive or a negative sign that you have to put in front of it. But that's the only new part, is just the sign part of it. Okay? So your homework, you do go to omit number 26. So make sure that you do the other ones so that we can go over any questions you have tomorrow.